Welcome, everybody, to Broadcast Team Alpha, where we bring you cutting-edge conversation while exploring the quantum possibilities, and we're doing it again tonight with one of our favorite friends and one of our favorite people on the planet, and Augie's going to tell you about him, although you probably all already know him. I just want to thank you for being here. Thank you for being in the chat room. This show is being recorded because YouTube put us in timeout for 7 days, but that's okay. We're still going to have really great information. You're going to be listening to this Saturday night, and you're going to just have a great weekend as a result of this. I want to invite you to join us for the Mastermind Connection. The Mastermind Connection is where we get together and we play with spiritual energetics in order to manifest benevolent outcomes in people, pets, and the world. It's one of my most favorite places to be on Sunday afternoon, 2 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Eastern, and it's just amazing. You know, we've changed weather patterns. We've evoked changes during very chaotic times. We rescued a dog that was lost in Canada for 8 hours. It was only a 2-year-old dog. And by the end of the meeting, the dog was home. We envisioned the dog getting led home in some way. We together sent out a laser beam of light and invoked the universe to somehow get the dog home. We don't tell the universe how to make things happen because, you know, the universe knows so much more than we do. But before the meeting was over, before an hour had passed, that dog was back home safe. And it's kind of miraculous the way that he got home. So I invite you to come do that with us. And if you want to, send an email to the mastermindconnection@gmail.com. We'll send you the link. You can join us on Sunday, check it out, see if you like it. And if you do, you can come back and hang out with us. So, Augie, let's talk about our beloved guest.
Yes, we're going to have some fun again. We have Dan Willis returning to Broadcast Team Alpha with us. And Dan is an incredible researcher. And he's a good friend. We've had some really deep conversations here in the past. We just got into every corner of the universe, I guess, and there's wonderful things out there. And I want to say a few things about Dan because I know there's got to be at least 2 people out there that don't know him, but everybody else does. So we're going to talk to the 2 people out there. He has been on both sides of the veil of classified information. In fact, he was one of the Disclosure Project's top secret military witnesses that testified at the National Press Club in Washington, D.C. in 2001, when everybody, or all of us, expected that disclosure would come from because of all the powerful witnesses. But, of course, that didn't happen. And he's also been in the major media. He's as a broadcast engineer and an ABC newsman, so he understands very well fake news. He's also spent years traveling around the world investigating and proving free energy. And yes, it is real. Just ask him. But today we're going to talk about other things. there is alien technology, and there is future technology that probably we would have developed, and it is working. And wherever else it goes, that is fine with me, because I bet Dan could talk for about 3 weeks about things that he know and we love to hear. So welcome to the show, Dan.
Augie,
Welcome,
no
Dan.
way.
Yay! Hi.
Good to be with
Oh.
you once again.
Oh, it's good to have you.
Yeah.
What have you been up to? It's been a while. What's on the forefront of your leading edge this time?
Well,
What are you working on?
I mentioned to Augie, we could do a show on these little devices that are quartz crystals that
Yeah.
have unusual properties, and I've been very honored to be able to have, through my friend alienabduction, communication with a scientist from the planet Era, named Jen Hanaredian, which is Thor Hanaredian's younger brother, who's studying terraforming, going to the university in the Pleiades. So over a year ago,
Wow.
Elena and I thought about asking some questions to him about crystal technology. So it's been ongoing, question answer. We now have like 110 pages on PDF. If you go to marcelvogel.org, you can see all the information. And he has relayed a lot of technical information, as far as spiritual conscious information in regards to the geometries within quartz crystals, water, love, all how they interface on different densities, and how to affect the planetary matrix with our consciousness using a crystal, and so much more.
Wow. That's amazing. So how did the communication begin? How did you receive the communication? Was it a surprise, or?
Yeah, it was a surprise.
Yeah.
Like I said, over a year ago, Elena invited me on a show, and I was talking about the usual disclosure stuff, about how our planet's been hijacked, and going to Washington,
Yeah.
and what was disclosed, and the usual stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then she put forth the question. She said, well, I hear you used to work with Dr. Marcel Vogel on doing crystal research, and asked, about how that got started. And it was actually an ET interaction I had back in 1977, which she identified as being an emether, which is one of the Council of Five that I think it's now a Council of Six now. It's changed. That gave me this information that had to do with the structure of the matrix, and it led me to seek out Dr. Marcel Vogel. And so anyway, we went over that, how that interaction was with Dr. Vogel, and how I worked with him for several years back in the 1980s. And so she said, well, Thorhan's younger brother, he knows quite a bit about crystals. He obviously can terraform a planet. He understands the entire matrix and structure of reality. So said, well, maybe we can ask him some questions. So what I did is I put forth a list of questions, to see what would come back, right? And
Wow.
a little background on how Elena communicates with this is that, when she was 9 years old, she got abducted by gray extraterrestrials of the Nibu Empire, which is now no longer because the queen's dead, the hive mind. And she was rescued by the Galactic Federation of Worlds. Thor Hanaredian rescued her along with other crew members. They brought her on board the Galactic Federation ship, but the Greys had already implanted a tracking device in her head. And so what they had to do was a very dangerous operation. They had to repurpose it to a quantum communication device. You know, they don't use radio waves, you know, like we do. Everything's quantum.
Right.
You can be anywhere in the universe and it communicates instantly. And so how this works is what Elena sees and hears, Thorhan can see and hear. But you know, there's a method of clicking it on. It has to do with a kind of an emotional response or a certain process that turns it on. You know, it's not on all the time. And so what Thorhan sees and hears, it's like she's there, you know, she can see and hear. And so what happens is I send her a document, and through her eyes, Thorhan scans it and actually records it. I mean, this is incredible technology they have. And then he plays it back for his younger brother. And then his younger brother gives the answers, and Elena, you know, types it out, documents it, and sends it back to me. And so we've this been going back and forth for 110 pages of question and answer.
Wow. This is amazing. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, there's a couple of things. There's only twice. Now, I've been very privileged and honored that they are allowing me to ask any questions, and they're authorized by the High Command of the Galactic Federation to answer these questions. There was only 2 questions that I asked that Jenhan had to get special authorization for. The first was, I asked about in the center of the matrix within the quartz crystal, it forms the piezoelectric structure. There's like positive, negative triads, like a 6-pointed star. And at the center point, I asked if that was a gateway, a portal. And he said, well, this is one of the things on the prime directive. Now, the prime directive is a real galactic policy that higher advanced civilizations can't interfere with ones that are still evolving, which makes sense. And it also explains why they haven't all landed and made themselves visible, you know, not to everybody. So what he did was he explained that within the crystal, I guess I can do a share screen. It'd probably be easier than trying to graphically describe it.
I have to tell you, I got a Vogel crystal. It's really small, but I have one. I have the starter.
Oh, it'll work.
Yeah,
it'll work. All right. Can you see, Jenhan? This is an illustration that Elena did of Jenhan, what he looks like. He's a younger Palladian. Now they live 900 to 1500 years. You know, a lot different than the average 75 years here on planet Terra. What he described, you know, I'll go through. I get to right here. What Dr. Marcel Vogel cut when he cut the crystals was he cut one angle at a 52-degree angle, which is like the Great Pyramid in Egypt, and also how crystals, when they grow naturally, all the angles are like that. And it's related to the golden mean ratio and everything. It's like a transponder in the matrix. And the other end is a 60-degree angle, which is 60 degrees. It interfaces with the matrix, and the matrix is this fractal tetrahedral geometry. And if you look at a tetrahedron, all the angles within a tetrahedron are 60 degrees. So it's like an interface. And so what happens is this termination creates a spiraling vortex that comes down and meets a spiraling vortex that's going in the opposite direction. And when these two counter-rotational vortices come together. It's like a Merkaba. They create this vortex convergence, forming a singularity in the eye of the vortex center, which allows you to, let's see, Jen Han stated that, quote, "It works by finding the phase conjunction node inside the crystal. By projecting inwards the geometrical shapes of the two opposite points, like a mirror, there is a vortex singularity of the crystal. Focus your thought and energy just there, and you may project your consciousness to anywhere you wish in this universe and other universes, to other densities, other dimensions. Anything is accessible in space, dimension, and time. This is great power, Elena. It is very important information. I am honored to be allowed to share this with you." Now, it's interesting that scientists on the planet Era are using the same angles that Dr. Marcel Vogel received in a dream when he first cut a dipyramidal crystal like this. He started out with a 4-sided, and then he believed that the energy vortexes through the crystal on the C-axis, which is the growth axis. And so that if you started putting more sides on the crystal, like this is a 6-sided crystal, and then he went up to more sides. This is like an 8-sided crystal, and even up to 16 sides. But he didn't realize something. When you go more than 6 sides, the crystals still work as a healing crystal, but it heals more by the radiance. When you cut the crystal in alignment with respect to the hexagonal core of the crystal, as the crystal grows in nature, it always grows in 6 sides. And if you cut that in perfect alignment with the hexagonal core of the lattice structure and do the 52 degrees, 51.843 to be exact, and 60 degrees, it allows this formation of the eye of the crystal to occur. And
I'm wondering,
yes,
I'm wondering also here, I got one here, but it is grown at a certain angle that looks very close to the one at either 58 or 60 degrees. It's just about the same. Is that in nature also? Is the 60 degrees and the 51.8? Is that something that Vogel found out on his own, or maybe he was inspired by someone? What do you think?
Some people say he had, connections with Palladians. He didn't share that part with me, but he did a 52-degree angle on one end that was consistent, and the 60-degree angle on the Vogel crystals that first came out. I traveled to Arkansas and got a huge batch of crystals. They were cutting it for 24 medical doctors in the San Francisco Bay Area and training them how to use it with the specific techniques he was using. The other end, the 60-degree angle, I noticed it varied a lot. It went from 58 degrees to 62 degrees. It varied quite a bit. It wasn't exact. But when speaking with Jen Han, he said exactly 60 degrees. And he gave me the exact 51.843 is the other angle, which everybody rounds off to 52 degrees. But that is the exact angle of the Great Pyramid in Egypt. And every crystal, your crystal, and every crystal on this planet is exactly that 52-degree angle.
Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting because using how many sides is your crystal, Nori?
So tiny. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Yeah. It's I'm
12
thinking in my head.
sides,
Yes, yes, probably 12. Yeah.
12-sided crystal. Yeah. Yeah, it works as a healing crystal. Now we're doing additional things.
Oh, man.
You know, when you cut this crystal, you can see there's silver electrodes on either side of this crystal. And
Oh.
when you hook up a function generator that pulses at 20 hertz, it opens up this piezoelectric aspect that opens up the wormhole that is active. I can tell a fun little story that happened recently with, you're familiar with Jean-Charles Morin, you know, French secret space program, who has the ability to teleport. And he was doing a video production about his experience in Japan. And Elena, now he's in Canada, Elena's over in Ireland, and she happened to leave her generator on. and it opens up the vortex, right? And she was feeding the cats in the kitchen, and
Wow.
all of a sudden the cats perk up because, well, Jean Charles in Canada is thinking, he's listening to this beautiful Japanese music, and he's thinking, oh, this is so beautiful. I would love to be able to share this with Elena. And all of a sudden there's this Japanese music that's coming. Now she lives out in Ireland, out in a kind of a little rural area. There's no Japanese music being played anywhere.
Right.
And
Wow.
and the music is coming through the open, the cats run down the hallway, and she runs down too and sees what's going on. And it just fades away as it approached the crystal. So I asked Jenhan about that, and that was the second thing that you had to get special permission for, because
Wow.
what happens is it opens this eye within the crystal, which accesses the void, which allows it to connect to any place in time and space. Now, what's kind of exciting about the wonderful work that both of you do with the mastermind group is that you can, people who have crystals, even if they have, you know, little natural crystals, but if you have a Vogel cut crystal, especially one that's, you know, 6-sided, this is a small one. It's like, you go to marcelvogel.org, there's a company that is following the specifications that Jenhan has given, and you can get one of these for like $148, which isn't bad.
Nice.
For
Yeah, no, it's better.
you know, for a Vogel type of crystal,
Yeah.
right? I mean, these things are
Yeah.
cost hundreds of dollars, you know, because it's
Absolutely.
quite a bit of work to cut one of these, you know, properly. And what you do is, instead of the electrodes, you figure out the angles. This angle comes down and this angle goes up, and where they kind of meet is the eye area of the crystal. And if you were to visualize you know, something that you want to put into the planetary, this directly connects into the planetary matrix. Now, if you got a crystal from Mars, it wouldn't work on Earth because it's connected to the planetary matrix of Mars, just like Martians born on Mars, their DNA is linked into the Martian planet, where our DNA is linked into, you know, our planet. And so the crystals that grow on Earth are linked into the planetary matrix. And so if you were to, you know, as Marcel discovered and as Jenhan also pointed out, regarding the breath, I just want to speak just briefly on the importance of breath. Okay. I asked him, you know, because Marcel how he got into this whole thing was plant communication, because he had to give this course to engineer creativity, and so he did Cleve Baxter's plant experiment, and he hooked up a plant and he burned a leaf and the plant responded, and then as soon as he thought with the intention of burning the leaf, it responded. So that got him onto the whole metaphysical track, out of working for IBM for all those years. But what he found, because he was studying pranayama yoga, is that when he pulsed his breath, now he went all the way for the other side of the planet in Prav Czechoslovakia, was able to psychically tune into the planet and pulse his breath and cause a reaction. And so I asked Jenhan about breath, using the nostrils, pulsing it through like that. He said, quote, "Breath carries memories and thoughts. It also carries the energy of a being, not only the encoding of its vehicle, DNA, but as well the encoding of the soul. When you project breath, you also project by superimposing a parcel of the soul being, hence a fragment of one's consciousness. The energy force that is a living manifestation of source is being impregnated inside the crystal. Short, precise, surgical, powerful breaths are better than a long one. In a long one, the energy and tension gets absorbed by the ether. In short, quick breaths, the energy and tension keeps intact and doesn't lose intensity. I recommend short, quick breaths. Think about precise, surgical. Intention is more like a needle, sharp and targeted, very precise to be able to penetrate matter. And so Elena and I did a show with about 1,700 people live. Everybody pulsed their breath we did a positive visualization like you do in the masterminds. And when we did it, we had a spike on the Schumann resonance, and we found that the brain waves on the planet of everybody is a reciprocal relationship between the minds on the planet and the planet itself. And so we were able to create a spike. So, next time you do a mastermind group, and if you're using a Vogel crystal, let me just make a quick comment on what he said about that. I asked him, I said, are Vogel cut crystals significantly more powerful than a natural single quartz crystal point for doing this work? And he said, quote, "Oh, yes, they are, if it is cut rightly, in perfect alignment with the grid of the lattice. Natural raw quartz are, of course, effective, but a Vogel cut, as you name them, are a more surgical tool to operate into the fabric of space-time and universal consciousness. So it's like a tool that can connect into the planetary matrix. And when you connect at a higher level density, you affect the lower densities, if you understand what I'm saying. When Marcel trained me on how to use the crystal, for healing and things like that, the first time I met him, he dematerialized his tumor in front of this doctor, and I, sitting on his couch. What you do is the crystal acts as a bridge because it's physical on multiple densities at the same time, and so therefore it naturally, like water is also a multi-dimensional, multi-density bridge. And so what happens is when you go in with crystal healing, you bridge these multiple densities and go right into the core pattern at the higher level. And when you remove that, the lower patterns accommodate. It's kind of like the med beds. Jenhan said the universe always has a it tends toward perfection. So when you do a higher level pattern over a lower pattern, the higher level pattern takes over. And this can be seen in using water. When you take a vat of unstructured water and you put a couple of drops of from a sacred spring like Marcel did, into the vat of water, all the unstructured water became structured, every single drop in it. But if you were to take a drop of unstructured water and put it into a vat of structured water, that little drop will become structured like the rest of them, because the higher forms the lower. And that's how the med beds work. You know, they overlay a more inline pattern with a perfect pattern, and so it morphs into that formation.
Is there anything, I'm wondering, is there anything you can do to this one crystal by maybe wiring it in order to, and then maybe running energy through the wires, or maybe not, is to increase the effectiveness of it?
Oh, you must be reading the notes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the most recent, and I'm working with two scientists that are helping form this. I'll show you what, show an image of what it looks like. It's a frill generator. Yeah, can you see that?
Yeah.
It's a quartz crystal with two windings that are exactly perpendicular to each other. One is copper and the other is pure silver. And what we do is we pulse both of these windings alternately with a 4096 pulse, 4096 hertz. And what happens is it creates a torsion field within the crystal. And this torsion field releases a frill that travels up through the top of the crystal. And this, so I have these two assistants that are working with CAD, because it's kind of a complicated wiring, as you could see, that and there's a certain exact spacing that needs to be the wire and everything. So it's very, very specific, these instructions. I'm getting some finalization on it. And this frill, PHRYLL, or Vril, or is lots of different names. It's like, because the quartz is the purest form of matter in the universe, according to Junhan. And so when it's directly connected to source, and so when this torsion field is activated, this life force comes out, and it's could be very healing for humans. I mean, they use this for other things on the planet Era, like generating power and things, but we don't we don't touch that area, right? Not on planet Terra yet. But it could be used for collecting the frill and use it for irrigation, and the plants will just thrive like crazy. And so there's a lot of applications that can be used with this. And as soon as we get it functioning, Junhan says that we are able to measure it, so we can have scientific proof that we are generating this energy. And it'll be, I don't know if it's the first time on this planet that they have shared this this knowledge, that we've been able to create this frill generator. So yes, and it can generate power, but we're not going to go there.
Yeah. Have you been able to wire it, wiring it diagonally onto the crystal?
It's very complicated. It needs to be CAD, and then the grooves put in to hold the wires at the exact spacing and at the perfect 90-degree angle to each other.
Yeah.
And that coil form has to be produced to do that. Otherwise, it's very difficult to do. You can't do that.
Yeah, maybe super glue or something could hold it in place too, possibly. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's challenging. So we have technology that's being shared. You know, I have that background with Marcel, which I learned a lot, and a lot of things that Marcel learned in the laboratory that he set up was substantiated by John Han, except he took it to the next level. And so yeah, crystal technology, it you know, there's a lot to, you know, they power their ships using this torsion field technology that he's sharing. And you know, we have to use it for benevolent purposes of it only, because John Han said, if not, I'm going to be in big trouble. You know?
Yeah.
Because they monitor, you know, all the communications, of course.
Now you had a little contraption there that you showed off a little while ago. There was a crystal with a couple of things attached to the side of it.
Oh yeah, pure.
Could you show us
silver.
that? Explain that a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah,
You can see
show
the
bottom of it also. It just kind of disappears.
yeah,
There we
it's
go.
just on a little stand. The silver electrodes are in the place of the eye of the crystal. So in that place where the two vortices come together that I described earlier, that this eye is opened up to connect into the singularity when you stimulate the piezoelectric aspect. That's why when I said, you know, you could get a little crystal like this, and in this area, which is around the eye of the crystal, when you just give a squeeze at the same time you pulse your breath and project your consciousness, that works. But if you really want to amp it up, you know, you get a signal generator and connect it up, but you don't touch it. There's no, or else it would throw the resonance off and everything. But yeah, this is a great tool for the mastermind group. Get a number of people, as you know, the square root of 1%, and starts this kindling effect.
Yeah.
That is like what, 8,000 or less than 9,000 people for 8 billion people on the planet start this kindling effect that propagates, because we're not going to get to them through CNN or MSNBC or any of the other networks. You know, so you can you know, work on the inner levels of the planetary matrix and transform reality by projecting the vision of a positive timeline.
Now that one was more like a communication device, but the last one you showed, no, not the last one, but the one before there with all the wiring around it, was that more like a healing device?
It generates frill, and frill can be used in a number of different ways, which I'm still learning. I did ask Jen Han the question of, and he gave a description. Let me see if I can bring that up, because I think he gave a better description than I can give. They're going into the communications log. I'm going to go ahead and share screen. This is the communications log. It's now, what, 106 pages. I'm going to go down here to, you know, there's lots and lots of diagrams, question, answer. You can see all the different getting fine-tuned in the understanding. So I asked, I said to him, without violating the prime directive, of course, could you describe how the frill generators distribute frill wirelessly and how they're used in various ways, such as electrical power, to run all of your various devices on your planet? Oh, actually, that was the second question. The question was, could you please give a good detailed description of what frill actually is? And on May 3rd, Jen Han said, sure. Frill is the energy created from gravity waves. So I can make that bigger, easier to read. Gravity waves in what you named the ether. These gravity waves are also named compression waves. These waves can be created by gravity or a scalar pulse sufficiently powerful and constant. You will learn that consciousness can produce scalar waves and generate frill. I'm not speaking about electrical brain waves, which are efficient too, but about pure consciousness. Frill can be present everywhere in the universe, and it is efficient when it is activated by a pulse. I asked about how they use it, and he says, we use resonance harvesting. Our devices placed above the crystal generator harvest the frill and teleport the frill to receptor devices. And these receptor devices transpond the frill into dynamic force that is in turn sent either by resonance or by physical wires or tubes to engines and habitat generators. The habitats and the engines have a crystal that is a receptor and can store the frill. In the reverse dynamics, if you will, my sister operates maintenance on one of these for our small community. It is a pyramidal construction above the valley, and it powers by resonance all of the habitats. Now, let's see.
Now this frill, is there, and now that is probably their name for it, but is there another name that we could understand it better by, like maybe chi or prana or ether or something like that?
Oh, did my screen share not share?
No.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Okay, well, I guess I read it to you. I put it up on the screen so everybody else could read it. So sorry about that. I forgot to hit the share button on the bottom of that.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, Aggie, I was trying to get out of try to stop the share, but apparently I didn't make it to the share screen. So I got occupied. What was your question again?
Oh, no, I was just, I think frill, that is probably the Pleiadians' name for this gravity wave, or what you are calling it. Is there another name that we can associate it better by, like maybe chi or prana or
Yeah, it's like the life force of the universe.
life force? Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's
because the quartz crystal is the purest element in the universe. It's connected directly to source. And so when this torsion field activates, it releases the frill. And the frill can be used for a number of different things, which I'm just focusing on, potential healing, for the body and for agriculture.
Yeah, this, I can see how this can be used for agriculture to make a better crop, healthier crop, bigger crop.
Yeah, I ordered, this is made out of pure fused quartz. It's a tubing that can circulate the water around the crystal and I asked it if this would work, and Jen had said yes. It's interesting, that's what Marcel did too. It just happens, I can't believe I got this at such a deal. It's like $25 and free shipping, but from China. Yeah, the water can circulate through this, and it'll pick up the frill charge and transfer it into the water, and the water will go to the plants, of course. Now, Marcel did this with a California winery where he took 7 right-hand turns around a crystal that had imprinted into it a fine wine that he was able to transform thousands of gallons of this Rotgut wine into a California award-winning wine by circulating, because the wine, of course, has water content, and there's this resonance transference that happens between quartz and water. I call it angular harmonic resonance because the intermolecular bonding angles are like harmonics of the quartz structure and the water structure, where they're able to transfer the information. And that's what Marcel discovered in the laboratory.
Wow.
Wow.
This
Wow.
gets
More good questions. Well, we have what, 15 minutes.
What about the for agricultural uses? I know you've studied that a little bit too, and I'm starting to look at it, how we can use electronics and radiation and things to create a better crop, a bigger crop, and by maybe just copper wiring and things like that.
Oh, yeah. I've been going to Home Depot picking up all kinds of copper wire. And every time I get a different salesman, he says, "You're doing it for your garden, aren't you?" Because everybody's been buying copper wire for their garden. And what happened, 1700, 1800s, there was they were using this, and pulling etheric energy, the atmospheric energy, into the plants, into the ground. Lewandowski coils and different kinds of copper wire configurations, and their plants grew enormously. I mean, like massive. And they didn't need fertilizers. They needed less water, and they didn't need pesticides because the plants aren't sending out the signal, "Hey, I'm not very healthy, eat me," And so this was incredible. But the corporations of the pharmaceutical and not pharmaceutical, they do their own thing, the fertilizer and pesticide people kind of poo-pooed it because they said it was going to create too much food and the farmers would lose money and blah blah blah, and so financial reasons it kind of went under. But lately it's been having a resurgence of interest, and people are starting to incorporate this into their gardens to pull the natural energies, and having incredible success with I'm doing Lewandowski coils on all my growing towers. I'm putting an atmospheric antenna to pull it and distribute it. Also grounding, if you have a pot that's not connected to the earth electrically, it doesn't do as well as if you put a ground stake and then connect it electrically into your soil. The plant will do better, just like we do. It's like people ground their beds at night, with using grounding sheets or other methods. The grounding has a beneficial effect on us.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. So good. All those yummy ions. Yeah, that's amazing. So I did look at the crystals, and I actually have a 24-sided one.
Oh, okay.
I have one of the small
Okay.
ones, that has all those little, ridges in it. I do aspire to move up to,
Yeah, Jen had said even 24 works,
Okay.
But past that, somebody getting 36 and 48 and
Yeah.
144, forget it. Even
Yeah.
Marcel said, you know, I think he called it an ego crystal. He-
Ah.
People have these huge multi-sided crystals, you know, to which costs quite a bit of money. They're actually less effective, I hate to say, you know, but you know, it turns out that the six-sided has the benefit of being a good healing crystal and being able to access this singularity point that's within the crystal
Yeah.
that can be very powerful in affecting the planetary matrix.
Nice. This is so exciting. You know, this is an exciting time, and all of the information that is being shared and coming out and being given to us from higher places. It's so wonderful. I don't even know if we need anybody else's disclosure. We're creating our own, you know?
Yeah, there's so much amazing stuff going on, and I'm feeling more optimistic. Although, you know, I try to avoid, you know, too much of mainstream. In fact, I avoid it completely. You know, because it's all, you know, it's been infiltrated and trying to move
Right.
forward on its own agenda. But
Right.
you know, things happening in the galaxy are very positive. You know, Elena has described that we had two major threats. We have the Nebu, which were the Greys, and the Sicars, which were the reptilians. They have, according to the Arlington Institute, John Peterson said from three, it was a
Yeah.
Navy-funded think tank, that the regressive extraterrestrials have been moved out of our solar system from three different independent sources, and which matched exactly what Elena was saying, that back in 2021, they were all put out of our solar system. Now we have benevolent, we have the Galactic Federation of Worlds, the Intergalactic Confederation, very highly advanced beings. Commander Denethor was able to hack the they captured some of these Greys and are able to hack them, which are all connected to a hive mind, you know, like birds and ants and insects, you know, they all have one mind that they all connect with. These beings were like that, and apparently on a imperial conquest, you know, to just dominate and expand, you know, like the Borg and Star Trek. But they were able to hack the code, and the Queen is no more, so they're no longer a threat. The only threat that was left is the Sicars, the reptilians, which were kind of pissed because they got kicked out. But we have alliances with the now with the Anunnaki, and it may be that the Nigumak, which are these scary looking huge beings that is nemesis of the Sicars, are thinking of joining the Galactic Federation's world, which would be an absolute invincible force against any acts of aggression by the Sicars. So the galactic picture looks very, very good. So we just have to take care of the things here on this planet, which I guess there's a global awakening happening as the deep state elements reveal themselves more and more in different ways. More people are becoming aware, and so maybe we get to the point of where we have these trials of crimes against humanity, you know, like Nuremberg type trials, and then we can start to release the med beds and this energy technologies and stuff that Elena actually saw when she went physically, you know, to the moon, saw these huge facilities inside the moon that have these med beds ready, and anti-gravity vehicles and 0-point energy, and we would get quick jump start, you know, to catch up on all the decades that we've had taken from us. You know, we've been our planet's been technologically hijacked. There's thousands of inventions that have been suppressed. And you know, I've had 10 years of dealing with scientists and inventors and horror stories and things that they keep a tight lid on it. That's why we can't do the power generation, you know, with the crystal, not yet.
We can show you some of that, and we even have to be even it's almost getting to the point where it's illegal to think about it. Now, far less to think about it. I mean, the gods, they don't like us talking about these stuff. So we got to be a little careful with the things that just is so innocent and so true. In a world,
truth.
everything is black is white and everything white is black, things just.
Right, everything's in reverse.
Yeah.
They're very threatened by truth and things coming out, and they've got to, deceivers and liars, they have to work so hard, in order to keep everything squashed down, because the truth has this ability to continually perpetuate and be revealed.
It always come to the surface sooner or later. And now we're getting down towards, I think we got about 5 minutes left. And what are you working on now? What is next for you of interesting stuff you want to hear about?
Well, I'm, excited with the continuing ongoing communications with Jenhan Heredian, and when we can get this frill generator operational and be able to scientifically verify that, it does work according to the specifications. That's very, very exciting to me. I just do a show once in a while with both of you wonderful people and other people every so often. I never have any financial interest in any of this. I just wanted to do my small contribution to the global awakening and get people to start, who aren't researching, to start researching and discover for themselves that there's this, so much more going on than what our information systems have been compromised. And so we have to understand that. I know it's hard for some minds to wrap their mind around that such a thing could happen, but it did.
Yeah.
When
it comes,
well, we sure do appreciate you, Dan, and all of the research that you're doing and sharing with us.
Yeah, we really appreciate it.
No, my honor. Always great. You guys do great work. All the work that you do, I salute both of you.
I got a question towards the last here. These crystals that you are putting together now, and it's working. Would you allow somebody else to build it on the basis of the concepts that you have built into yours? Like Nori's passion is healing. Would it
This is why,
if she had one of those?
say that one more time. The last part.
I say that Nori's passion is healing. And would it be allowable to the to Jenhan if she had one of those devices? Could that possibly help her?
Yeah, very, very well could be. We have to do a little research on seeing how that all works. One of the reasons I have never had any financial interest with, the disclosure or crystal work or anything of that nature is that this information I'm sharing freely because it's being given freely to me as a gift to our planet. And so I'm sharing it so it can be, be developed and by anyone. There's certain safeguards that are, I guess you could say, in place. So, yeah, we have a lot to learn about crystal technology in the near future here.
Sounds
Fabulous.
good.
Thank you so much, Dan. Thanks for with us, and hope you'll come back in the not too distant future.
Yeah,
it's an ongoing process, and I'm sure we'll have more exciting news in the future. I'm going to be doing a series of crystal classes with Elena. Check Elena Danan, her YouTube channel.
Wonderful.
And we'll be doing a series based on Marcel Vogel and Jenhan's information on using the crystals for healing and a lot of different things. So Stay tuned.
That's great.
Um,
I'll see you there. I'll definitely see
Yeah,
you there.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Let us know. I would love to be in on that. That would be great to listen to that.
Yeah, her site is Elena Danan, DANAAN.org. My site is marcelvogel.org in honor of Marcel. My disclosure stuff, the webmatrix.net. Out of all that, that should keep you busy.
Yep. And
Great.
I want to say to the listeners also that Nori is here by telephone this time because her area is full of thunderstorms and she couldn't get on the internet. So next week, we're going to see her smiling face again. This time, all we see
Yep.
is a telephone.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you, Mac. Thanks, guys. Take care. Everybody love each other. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
You